Science, systems upon systems. I wrote this down because I was describing how I don't really know a lot of science stuff in the intricacies of it. But whenever you come along and tell me some kind of science thing, I always realize that I understand the most fundamental principle of science. And you've described it before of it's always trying to catch up, or it's always in a state of catching up to what we already know, whatever. And I kind of was telling someone about it, about how Richard Feynman had a little lecture once, and he said, a hypothesis or whatever, it always starts with a guess. And then a bunch of people laughed, and he's like, well, don't laugh, because it's that's how it is. And the simple version that I described was, so if you come up with math, and you get 1 plus 1, and that's 2, but a different system, and so you start, and you get this point, right, and you go 1 plus 1 is 2, and like my two hands are the ones, and then you continue, and you make this whole system based on that first decision that worked, that makes sense. Or if you were to scratch that whole thing and then you just considered both of my hands are actually one thing, then you might think, well, if both of my hands are one thing, then my 1 plus 1 thing doesn't work anymore. And so if you didn't have the 1 plus 1 and you just started with a different kind of basic system in place, then the whole way that it developed would turn into something else. And so it seems that people in the science and all these systems, not all sciences, kind of end up forgetting that at some point somebody came up with the original first pieces that ended up fitting into this the puzzle or the whole fabric of what knowledge is, and that they forget that there's other ways to knowledge. There's other versions of the thing that could be, but this is what is. So now we work with it, and we forget that it's actually not what reality is, but it's our knowledge upon reality.
Again, our examples are terrible. Trash examples.